coming at y'all today real quickly with a live. This is entitled Prime Crime. By the way, this is from Law and Crime. This is their a program that they have called Prime Crime. It's entitled Five Child Murder Tragedies That Shock Everyone, I guess. With that being said, let's get into this.
On Prime Crime. They're the most heartbreaking cases to investigate. The family went crazy. They called 911. They called everyone. It was mass chaos because she just disappeared in thin air.
And make sure my mic on.
The most difficult cases to try.
DNA found in this case belonging to Mr. Kennedy was a matter of a few cells. Again, things you won't hear: no semen, no blood, no other identifiable bodily fluid.
And some of the most important stories to tell.
By all accounts, Harmony was one of the sweetest girls that you could have met. Harmony loved me in the house. She was a bright girl, a vibrant girl.
The pain of a mother sounds the same no matter what language you use. There's just a certain tone, and once you hear it, it sits with you.
Hey everybody, I'm Jesse Weber. Over the past 4 years, Prime Crime has promised to break down the most memorable and high-profile true crime cases. And I'm proud to say that we've done just that. But in this special episode, we're going to take a minute to pour over the most heartbreaking stories we have ever covered. Children taken much too soon. The faces behind me, a reminder that even though they may be gone, they're never forgotten. These victims and their families have suffered unimaginable loss. And I know this is a difficult topic, but these stories beg so many important questions. What signs were missing? What could have been done to prevent it? And maybe the most important question of all, who can we trust with our children? We don't have all the answers, but in order to bring justice to those with no voice, someone must speak for them. Meet 12-year-old Johanna Ortega, a daughter, sister, athlete, and model student.
911, what is the address of your mother?
On August 10th, 2017, this chilling 911 phone call from a mobile home park out in Goodlettsville, Tennessee, is placed by Patricia Velazquez and her daughter, Jocelyn Ortega.
And listening to 911 tapes and, working with them in a number of homicide cases during my time as a prosecutor. The pain of a mother sounds the same no matter what language you use. There's just a certain tone, and once you hear it, it sits with you.
Exactly what happened. When my daughter was 12 years old, I went to work at I lived here in and it was somebody came into the trailer and broke in. They chose her and they gave her a turn.
The investigation into the death of 12-year-old Johanna Ortega begins.
Johanna's murder was one of the more brutal cases that I've reviewed. It happened in a location that I think that most 12-year-olds would feel safe and secure. That's in their home. Her
cause of death ultimately is an asphyxial death. It's an asphyxial death by strangulation. Whoever did this took their time. She didn't see this guy coming.
And it only gets worse.
There was a bit of disrobing went on here. Anytime that you have the appearance of an event that might have a sexual connotation, you're always going to do the sexual assault kit.
Police arrive on scene and begin to canvass the area. At one point, Detective Chris Bowden interviews Johanna's neighbor, Roy Coons Jr.
How you doing? Doing well. You live here? Bigger. Pretty much all day, or? I'm here now. You guys saw anything unusual, strange, something stood out to you, like, I've never seen that guy before? No.
Roy Coons is an ex-con with quite the rap sheet.
This is a man who has been arrested 102 times. And his first arrest started when he was 19 years old. In 1999, he was convicted of his third DUI guilty. 2001, he was guilty of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. 2006, he was guilty of 2 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. 2010, guilty of aggravated burglary. Now, during this span of his first arrest from 1991 to 2020, he also had 13 probation violations.
As 11-year-old boy, that was you. Would you not want to do everything that you possibly can to find out what the
Are you agitated because of the horrors of what happened in your neighborhood? That's completely logical, but at the same token, you do have to recognize that law enforcement does need to do their job and do and conduct an investigation. Why can't you just provide the basic information needed so we can eliminate you as a suspect and move on to the next person?
No, that don't make you involved in that. I got a bill for it, and all we're going to do is we're going to talk to the more because we were home a little more than everybody else. So like I said, I mean, it's sad most of the time. I don't come out because I know how I am, right? And I keep my mouth up. Just keep my mouth up. I got to feel my hand and change it. If I see anything that hits me back in front, I'm gone. Hell no.
Before police leave, they witness Coons throw a cigarette butt on the ground.
And they got that cigarette butt. I guarantee you, they went straight for that cigarette butt.
Perhaps left behind. And what finer example of this than a cigarette butt? You're touching the exterior of the cigarette. And more importantly, you're essentially inoculating and introducing your saliva into the filter of that cigarette. You can find red blood cells, and of course red blood cells are a fine source for DNA.
So you said you've done a lot of work down there? So you've been inside? Yeah. Have you been inside since Patricia quit? Just the doorway. Down here, Marty. I went down there and asked her about the lawnmower. She had a lawnmower. Did a couple times for her. Is there any reason that we could ever call her find the DNA on her?
This exchange is critical.
Roy's DNA was found in 3 locations. It was found on the back of the windowsill, on a shirt, and on a sock. Roy's DNA wasn't found on the yellow karate belt that she was strangled with, a tissue, a pillow, a mattress, a bed rail, her bra, her shirt, a Cheetos wrapper, the bedspread, and her left breast. But where a YSTR match that could not be ruled out, and where it could be him or a paternal linkage to him, was found on a facial swab of hers. It was found on her right buttocks and her left arm.
DNA aside, the prints at the crime scene are not a match for Coons.
We don't have prints on the ends of our fingers. These are easily obliterated. This is quite fascinating. The day after the homicide, Coons was actually walking down the road, and there was a police officer that was there. One of the things that the police officer noticed is that Coons had latex gloves hanging out of his pocket during the interaction.
What do you think? Where
There's only one problem with that statement.
He had intimate knowledge of the events that have not been released to the public. He talked about things like sexual assault, strangulation. I first thought he was hanging around, and now he has intimate knowledge of the scene, something that no one else has had eyes on.
Before Johanna was killed, she sent
He
a
talked too much.
messages to her mother. She was home alone, nursing an injured ankle. These final words from Johanna would crack the case wide open.
4:15, the victim wrote to her mother, "Mom, someone is knocking on the door." And then at 4:19, the victim wrote back to her mother, "I think it was the man who touched the yard." At that point, I knew that was very important because I was at the crime scene and I knew that one of the suspects was the caretaker of the home.
Text message is a huge component. It puts him there. It puts him in contact with her right around the time that she was murdered.
That gives you chills. You're looking for a perpetrator that is predatory in nature, who would have the opportunity to conduct this observation, to see that this child is at home by himself, and to understand the environment.
I'll be right back in a second.
All of that comes together in kind of this horrible state.
A month later, the family's neighbor, Roy Coons Jr., is arrested and charged in connection with Johanna's death. In July 2019, Coons went on trial for multiple charges, including first-degree murder. The prosecution laid out their case.
You have the DNA that shows he was in contact with her around the time that she was murdered.
DNA-wise TR profile on the right cheekbone, on the right buttocks, and on the left arm of Johanna's dead body. And it was the exact same YSTR profile as
What up?
Watkins Jr.
We back.
Look at his statements. You look at his knowing certain facts about the crime that only law enforcement and the person committing the crime would have known.
He knows that Johanna has been strangled. That information was not public at the time the defendant knew it.
The text message, the basically words from beyond the grave that came from Johanna.
4:19 p.m. she identifies that the man who was knocking on the door of her trailer that day was the man who touched the lawn. All of you've heard to show that Roy Coons is the man who cut their lawn in that trailer.
You put all of that together, and that is what shows guilt.
However, this is not as simple as it seems.
Roy did not attempt to rape, and he did not burglarize Johanna Ortega's mobile home. You're not going to hear from a single eyewitness, Mr. Coons, who went in that mobile home on that day. You're not going to see any video footage from security cameras showing that he did that. You're not going to hear from any witnesses that he had any motive or had attempted to do anything to this family in the past. DNA that was recovered in this case, along with Mr. Coons, was a matter of a few cells. Again, things you won't hear from semen, blood.
If DNA proves that he did something to that young lady, all they need is DNA.
It has to do with the fact that there's no real direct evidence.
Before the trial concludes, the prosecution presents another piece of evidence for the jury to consider. They say that Coons made a startling admission while living in a homeless encampment.
He just asked me if I ever knew somebody. I didn't ask him if he ever did, but he told me that he didn't tell me who it was or how long it was. But he said he did, but this is what that sticks with. As soon as I walked out of this tent, I was so freaked out. I never missed it.
Many people make comments about these events without stating the specifics of the event. This burden gnaws at him. He's sleeping in a wooded area not too far away from the victim, and I think that tells you a lot.
We, the jury, find the defendant Ronald Don Jr. and Count 1 guilty of second degree murder.
as he should have been guilty.
Four, guilty of aggravated assault. Count five, guilty of aggravated assault.
I'm not surprised that the jury found him guilty of second-degree murder as opposed to first-degree murder. So first-degree murder suggests premeditation. It means that you plan to commit this crime. To me, it sounds like the jury looked at all this evidence and felt like it was a crime of opportunity. That was in the area, happened to see that Johanna was alone, or figure out that she was alone, and took advantage of that moment.
Roy Coons sentenced to life in prison plus an additional 25 years.
Good.
This was one of those cases that really tugs at the heartstrings. You see this family that, they work hard every day. They're doing the best they can to try to attain the American dream. And for the mother and the sister to come home and see their loved one in that condition, that horrible, horrible day seared into their memory. And I just can't even imagine the pain that this family is going through and will continue to go through, because we all know that a guilty verdict, while that may be the end of the case, is not the end of the trauma, the grieving journey of those that are left behind.
Johanna Ortega's heartbreaking story can be boiled down to simply and sadly a crime of opportunity. To this day, Roy Coons Jr. is serving a life sentence plus an additional 25 years for the attempted rape of Johanna. Now, this next story is a cautionary tale. Do we really know the people we let into our children's lives? Remember Hannah Weshing? The 3-year-old girl who loved to play, laugh, eat hot dogs with extra ketchup? On March 8th, 2018, babysitter Lindsay Parton alerts Ohio police that the toddler she's watching has suddenly collapsed. That 3-year-old girl is Hannah Weshing. After Hannah is rushed to the hospital, Parton, who's a mother herself, is brought in to speak with law enforcement. Detectives need to figure out what exactly happened here, including whether this could have been an accident.
What happens in these cases is you'll have some type of an explanation, usually an incident explanation, because we've all been around kids. We all know that kids fall down, they get bumps, and they get bruises, and that's something that we've all shared in our common experience.
Whatever happened to her,
We don't believe you.
Then, detectives share a huge development in the case that changes the course of this story.
These child abuse cases come right down to the observable injuries. Babies, toddlers, they don't just die in the sun. They were able to observe the pathognomonic for child abuse. In other words, the only explanation for the existence of these absorbent injuries, retinal hemorrhages, brain swelling, is inflicted.
Abuse.
Hey, I just want to quickly thank Upside for sponsoring this episode of Prime Crime. If you don't know what it is, Upside is great. It is a free app that gets you cash back on daily essentials like gas, groceries, food. So I pump my gas, I can use Upside. Go out for lunch, I can use Upside. Maybe I get something at a convenience store, I can use Upside. And why not get the cash back when I do all these things, right? This is real cash back. It's money that appears in the Upside app, and you transfer it right to your bank account. So once you have the free Upside app, you claim it off of whatever you're buying Upside. You pay as usual using a debit or credit card. You follow the steps on the app, you get paid. So to find out how much you can earn, click the link in the description to download Upside, or scan the QR code on screen, and make sure to use our promo code PRIMECRIME because you get an extra 25 cents back on every gallon on the first week gas. Welcome back to a special edition of Prime Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. When we last left off in 2018, detectives are questioning babysitter Lindsay Parton in connection with the death of 3-year-old Hannah Weshy. Parton claims that Hannah simply collapsed at her home. Police are thinking there is much more to the story. Parton says something that catches investigators' attention. When Hannah's father, Jason, dropped Hannah off, Parton claims her head was partially obscured. Detectives are now forced to consider whether Hannah arrived at Parton's with her injuries and whether Jason is at fault.
Jason came over. Was he have a temper? Have you ever seen it? Have you ever seen it? But I'm not very well enough to know that. Have you ever seen bruises on her?
Really, it could only be one of two people. It was either Parton or it was him. Because they literally had their hands on this child and passed it off within moments of each other.
Suspicious and deep. That's the cause of the death today. So it'll be very matter of fact. If you're sitting here telling the truth, that's great. But if you're sitting here and you're covering and you know things, listen to the words I'm going to tell you. There's absolutely no positive way that this child is sitting down, playing, having conversation, that it absolutely did not happen.
Got a truth one.
That she wouldn't have been able to have been injured the day before, because treating doctors specifically stated that the blows to her head would have resulted within seconds or minutes. She would have been able to be functioning.
I was looking at the
Parton was called in for another interview with investigators. It's here where she attempts to further explain away Hannah's various injuries.
Yes, exactly what she felt and understand.
Be back.
Yes, I know about this right there. That's all that is. Yes. When she looked up at me, it's like in that bed and couch, her back out, and she fell on that side. This is on both sides. Yes.
Children can certainly hinder themselves to fall. We've all seen other toddler falls now, and they have a few bumps and bruises along the way, and yet they're not the same types of injuries. What's the difference is the severity and the number and the location.
So when people fall, you're going to have bruising on the sharp points. You know, a straight point, you're not going to have bruising here. And that's what we're dealing with the broken points for God and going from the soul. Yeah. Because, I mean, honestly, a lot of these aren't adding up to the ball in the crowd.
It's at this point that Parton drops a bombshell about what happened prior to Hannah suddenly collapsing.
I was looking at like this. So we both went down. We
television show.
So why would you hide that? At the very beginning, she basically said, I don't know what happened. She just came in and said, couch, donut, and she well, no, the shortfall that you described does not fully complete. Now, we have the biggest problem in this part, which is that she's already by her own admission caught being untruthful about what happened with her child.
But Parton's next
Just come out with the truth. Why did you lie, man?
Now, not only has Parton confessed to abusing Hannah, but listen to what she says next.
She didn't want me to go to work. And when I go to work, I go, you guys tell, and you can't do that, now you gotta go to work. You should. I shook her, and I could go to her, and we didn't fall.
Get put under jail, bitch.
Lindsay Parton is charged with child endangerment.
Yeah, she should have been charged.
For the death of Hannah Wesher. Her trial will begin in April that year.
We don't know exactly what happened here. We only need to prove that Hannah was abused and or that the defendant violated her duty to that child.
Parton's defense argued that she didn't cause Hannah's death. In fact, they say the toddler collapsed within a minute of having been dropped off at Parton's house, and it's possible her injuries could have resulted from something or someone else.
So she can't say it was 20 minutes, she can't say it was an hour, she can't say days.
Is that reason now? That says this child was injured somewhere else, not in the 30 seconds, not in the minute that was Parton had her.
The problem with autopsies and most forensic evidence is you don't know how the trauma was inflicted. So that's why it's always a battle of the experts.
Do you have an opinion to reasonable degree of medical certainty as to whether or not Hannah could have been walking or talking or behaving in a normal fashion after receiving the injuries that resulted in her death?
She could not. This is a tremendous brain injury. This is really serious.
Surgeon testified as to significant or severe force in dispute that. The autopsy showed that this child died as a result of homicide. This child died as a result of inflicted trauma. The defense experts testified that these injuries, although they do exist, didn't necessarily manifest themselves one certain time frame who was responsible. So that window, when the injuries might have been inflicted, is open.
If Parton didn't inflict these injuries, then who did it?
You lied to the police about milk and Walmart, correct?
I was confused just now.
Hey, by the way, you know what's a tool that we use to look at the various people and the stories that we cover?
I hate when they do all these ads.
You get address information, you get criminal history. And let me just say, this can give you some peace of mind. TrueFinder is one of the largest.
What's the point of me in paying for premium if they still gonna have ads?
That includes looking up registered sex offenders that may be in your area too. So if you're interested, you can get 50% off of confidential background reports right now. Just go to truefinder.com/LCCrimeCrime. Babysitter Lindsay Parton is facing charges of child endangerment and murder in connection with the death of 3-year-old Hannah Wesher. But was she really the person responsible?
I think the defense had to go with the most easily blamable person, and a lot of times when there is violence, it is within spouses or within parents. And we also know that he had observed some strange behaviors from her, in addition to some of the things that he said that were not true in terms of going out to get milk. There were several details that wound up not being accurate. Today is the
found out after my name was over the report.
I indicated that your whereabouts for the night of the 7th of March were very important and suspicious. Doesn't have anything to do with that?
No, ma'am.
You lied to the police about milk in Walmart, correct?
I was confused just now.
I found Jason to be relatively credible. He did have some inconsistencies with minor facts. It can be explained by the trauma he was going through missing his child. Overall, he made a good difference.
Parton takes the stand, hoping to convince the jury of her innocence.
Lindsay, did you cause harm to Hannah Leshy on March 8th? I did not. Why did you tell the police that you did? Because I wanted to protect everybody.
Miss Parton took the witness stand. She had a very tough road to hoe, and she had to explain to jurors why she herself should be believed. She, by her own admission, was untruthful during the interrogation. If she can lie to the police, the prosecution can say that she can certainly lie to the jurors.
Why didn't you throw Jason to the wolves to the detectives on March 8th? Because I care about him. He was my friend. I wanted to protect everybody. I didn't want anybody to get in trouble. Why would you want to protect someone who did this to a child? I always think the best of people.
When she told jurors that she was protecting them, she's doing that at the expense of the child, because she's not protecting the child. If she wanted to protect the child, she would have told the truth about who actually did this as soon as it happened.
Martin claims police coerced her confession.
We know what this is going to be.
No, I know.
This is not the first 3-year-old that we're scared to take. It's not a law. And you know.
They didn't care what I had to say. I felt pressure, felt forced. I wanted to protect everybody. Felt bullied.
Did you lie to the police?
Told them what they wanted to hear. I did not think that the interview was overly suggestive. We've seen many different types of police interviews, and a lot of them have very obvious elements of duress. This was just not one of those examples, specifically because she actually testified to details that were not given to her by the police.
When it's time for the prosecution to cross-examine Parton, they don't hold back.
You didn't Google how to make a bruise look better, how to make a bruise feel better. You Googled how to get rid of a bruise. Is that right?
Yes.
You indicated that it was your belief you could physically discipline her.
Yes.
You could squeeze her middle.
Yes.
Was it your belief that you could hit her on the face with an open hand?
Yes.
And was it your belief that you could hit her on the chin with a closed fist?
Yes.
And was it your belief that you could shake her?
Yes. It's always difficult for defendants to decide whether or not to testify at trial, particularly when there are statements that are being used against them. So the decision to testify was risky, and in this instance, it did not pay off. She universally came off very poorly on the stand, appeared to be condescending. I think here it was a mistake to testify.
As to count 4 of the indictment, involuntary manslaughter, the duly impaneled jury do find the defendant Lindsay Parton guilty, accompanied by all 12 signatures. As to count 5 of the indictment, endangering children, the duly impaneled jury do find the defendant Lindsay Parton guilty.
Yep, guilty as just should be charged.
We, the duly impaneled jury, do find the defendant Lindsay Parton guilty.
The jurors gave Miss Parton an opportunity to be heard, and they just didn't believe her. The testimony that she gave ultimately was totally inconsistent with the physical, observable injuries on the child, and the jury's verdict reflects that.
You sentenced the defendant Lindsay Parton for a lifetime imprisonment with full eligibility after.
Sure got put on death row.
It's hard to predict whether Miss Parton's going to make parole. Parole boards don't often like to parole people who commit very violent offenses like this, but if she behaves, tries to better herself, and takes responsibility, she may be able to get some parole board if she is rehabilitated.
It's something that's in my mind every single day. Time doesn't make anything easier. It makes it rougher. trying to go day by day. I was relieved that that part was over and she was convicted. I'm glad she went to prison, obviously. We hope that she does not make parole in 2037. It's bewildering. I don't understand how anybody could think that that's okay to do to a child.
Up next, it's the case of the death of a pregnant 16-year-old girl.
Mm-mm.
Something no one could imagine. Real quick, I have to say this. I hope that you know that it is really a privilege and a responsibility of ours to tell these stories. We don't take it lightly. And one of the reasons that we can keep on producing these kinds of shows is because of the incredible support that we get from our sponsor, Morgan & Morgan. Look, here's the deal. If you should get injured, America's largest injury law firm, that may be who you want in your corner. Listen to this track record. In the past 2 months, Morgan & Morgan, they secured a $9.3 million verdict for a car crash victim in Florida, a $5.6 million verdict for another car accident victim in Atlanta, and not to mention $1.8 million after insurance offered them just $1,000 in that case. And even if you don't think your case is worth millions of dollars, why not just start a claim and fight for the money you deserve? See if you have a case could be done in 8 clicks or less. You don't even have to leave your couch. By the way, the fee, absolutely free unless you win. So if you're injured, you can easily start a claim at forthepeople.com/primecrime or scan the QR code on the screen. Hey everybody, welcome back. Just a reminder that all the pictures you see behind me are some of the young lives that were taken too soon. On this episode, we will be sharing their heartbreaking stories. Our next case is among the most twisted we have ever covered. At the time, the Sawyer family and police frantically pursued every lead, but the investigation takes a stunning turn that will leave you speechless.
Check the 911 with the location of the emergency.
December 19th, 2018. Started out a normal day. IS was a 16-year-old high school student, a sophomore, straight A student at Terry Parker High School here in Jacksonville, Florida. She also went to school with her sister, SS, who was a year younger than her 9th grade year.
Because Ayanna Sawyer and her sister are minors, investigators sometimes refer to them by their initials, IS and SS, to protect their identities.
When SS calls her mother frantically, stating that IS did not get on the bus, she remembered was at work. So she called 2 of her sisters. One of the sisters called 911, while the other one headed to Terry Parker High School.
Her family went crazy. They called 911. They called everyone. It was mass chaos because she just disappeared in thin air.
So IS, she was the firstborn. She was extremely close to her mom. She was extremely loyal. She loved being with her family. She wanted to be either a doctor or a lawyer. She was into her scholastics, being a straight A student. However, sadly, at the age of 16, she was carrying a big secret. And that secret was she was pregnant.
Ayanna is 5 months pregnant. Though she only recently told her mom, the family supports her. They even named her unborn baby Hazel Michelle. All they want is to find Ayanna safe and sound.
IS did not attend her last 2 periods of school. Video surveillance showed that she did in fact leave Terry Parker High School at approximately 11 a.m. And we don't know who picked her up because I was outside of camera footage at the time. She has 2 bags. One is full, of course, regular school items such as textbooks, notebooks, and then another bag.
And what's in the second
a
bag?
amount of Victoria's Secret items, a body pillow. The family is left questioning
The
where is
hell?
IS.
The consensus between police is that she has left school voluntarily. There was no obvious signs of remorse or anything like that.
All 3 of the cases, she either ran away and didn't want to be found, or she ran away because her mom wanted to know who the father of the child was. She didn't want to tell, and that led
Yeah,
to
and that's why I want to know who is the father of this young lady's
They did
child
some basic search
and how
around the
old
area.
is this
They set up
person?
the tip line. The family was doing quite a bit. They were looking for anything.
After 2 days of searching with no sign of Ayana, police changed her status from a runaway to a missing person. Then, her mom makes a disturbing discovery.
Her mom is searching through, her room, through her laptop, through her boxes in her closet, anything she could to determine where she may be. She finds this Word document on Ayana's laptop that kind of seems strange.
I get to it.
I went there in the recycle bin right here.
Recycle bin?
And then she also got other notes over here on the side. They asked you for a password. She got some of the and she got other stuff that she wrote. And she got about them too.
It was a couple pages long, and it was a pouring out her heart of this person, Jose, her love for this person, the betrayal of this person.
Ayana's mom has never heard her talk about Jose. Could it be a code name for someone? Could she have run away with this person? The laptop entries are dated February and March 2018, almost a year before Ayana disappeared.
She confronts Ayana's sister, and Ayana's sister is the one who says, "Oh, that's Jose's Uncle John." So Ayana was John's niece by marriage. He was Uncle John to Ayana and to the other siblings as well. They were very close. His wife and him both took care of the kids on a regular basis. They would spend time at their house. John, really charismatic guy. He's very likable. He's a mechanic. He's a handyman. He had a good family life. Was working, doing well. Married, had a kid. Another one on the way.
This is almost similar to the Nasiah Harris case, based on what I'm hearing right now. Eerily similar.
Ayana's mom knows the two are very close, but if Uncle John, aka Jonathan Quilles, is the Jose in Ayana's laptop entries, did things go too far? Her mom is determined to get to the bottom of whatever is going on. She calls police, and they head over to his house.
Hey John, what's going on?
This is crazy. All this just got dropped on me. Like, both of us. I was just trying to get a guy to sign a lease over there, and I'm coming back and see patrol cars and everything.
He arrived while they were there. He was calm, cool, and collected.
And that's when the couple makes a statement that seems to catch officers by surprise.
So while talking about, do you know any items that are missing of IS's? Well, the wife had stated when she left, she took a lot of the Victoria's Secret undergarments.
Jonathan Quilles is even more specific.
Oh yeah, for 38 pair, indicating that she had taken 38 pairs of Victoria's Secret undergarments. How someone in a family relationship would know that is obviously very odd.
Yeah, that is super weird.
We are right at the center of one of the most gripping and twisted stories we have ever covered. A 16-year-old pregnant teen goes missing. Police are getting closer to their prime suspect. December 27th, 2018, about a week after 16-year-old Ayana Sawyer, or IS, disappeared, police have brought Jonathan Quilles for an interview. But the laptop entries his niece wrote that indicates the two had sexual relations.
You guys took my DNA from the house, so I don't have nothing to hide. You are looking at the wrong person. It has nothing to do with that girl disappearing whatsoever.
They don't arrest him. They detain him, they talk to him, but then they release him.
However, Quilles has raised enough suspicions that a few days later, police turned the investigation over to homicide detective Bill Abbott, who immediately processes the DNA Quilles provided.
It was submitted to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement here, and a rub put onto it. It because what we have learned was that a sexual assault case involving IS had been submitted back in March of 2018, and there was unknown DNA.
The results showed DNA from neighbor Kamar Humphrey, with whom Ayana had a relationship, but the unknown DNA was additional. Could it be her Uncle Jones?
Well, on January 7th, 2019, a shock. Jonathan Quiles' DNA was on IS's case. Complete, utter shock. It only heightened that Jonathan Quiles was definitely a personal interest. Then a bombshell hit. A phone call comes into the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. That individual identified himself as Joseph Quiles, Jonathan Quiles' brother. And oh boy, did he have a story to tell. Jonathan Quiles had called his brother, stated it was either December 19th, 2018 or December 20th, 2018, that his brother was frantic, stating that this girl might be pregnant, it might be mine, and I have to get rid of the body. Joseph Quiles then stated his brother hung up the phone. However, sometime later he called back, calmer, not upset, not nervous, said he had taken care of them.
When Joseph asks his brother to explain, Quiles reportedly gets surprisingly specific.
Jonathan Quiles tells his brother that he lured her to his work in an area where they used to be.
I didn't know the mic was out. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Put one in the chat if you can hear me.
So he shot her. He then put
Okay,
her body
okay, it's
in
on.
a dumpster, and then it's done.
Detectives then drop a bomb on Quiles that nobody saw coming.
So if I were to tell you that I found some underwear that had your DNA in it, how would you explain it?
I would say that is not, there's no way in shape in any form. Yeah, there's no way.
So with the tapes across the street, there was a kid down,
Correct.
and she was wearing specific clothes to include underwear.
Yeah, she told me that was one of the biggest locations that people got underwear.
Okay, so that's what he's talking about.
That's what I was referring to.
That was my DNA, but I didn't, no way.
See,
I'm not saying you're a monster. I don't think you're a monster at all. Okay? I think maybe they came on to you and things went a little too far. It happens all the time.
Quiles was placed under arrest for sexual battery of his niece Ayana Sawyer. The detective on the case has a plan to set a trap for him while he waits trial.
Detective Abbott, through his partners and his homicide team, they were able to get into contact with some other inmates. One of the inmates then was wired up, and through the instructions that Detective Abbott and his homicide team had given this inmate was, see what Jonathan Quiles will tell you.
Just 2 days later, the detective's plan seems to pay off.
You did good, Dr. Wood. Get rid of the body and all that. Molly, my goodness. Thank you, my brother. That was if you think she was going to jail, what you said, I was going to get the bed and lay home. Just 16 months. There's there's a possibility that
Jonathan starts talking, he doesn't know how to stop. And he keeps going. His biggest flaw is he's just chatterbox.
And this dude here is snitching on himself.
You could have some down, well, he's just bragging in prison because he wants to have some street cred there. But his words are his words. When you compare that to his own brother's comments and Miss Sawyer's younger sister's words that Jose was Jonathan, now the evidence is really starting to pile up.
Police find his signature on the sign-in sheet at the range and the gun in his closet.
He went to the gun range, he shot the gun. The only thing I could think of about that statement is maybe he thought some forensic evidence that showed that the gun had been recently shot.
If that was Quilles's plan, it seems like it worked.
Here, there's no blood evidence, there's no DNA, there's nothing on your gun. It's alleged that he shot her at close range, like in the heart even. The physical evidence didn't line up with what we were expected to see.
Investigators check every vehicle in the yard and find no trace of Ayanna.
So what police had was a theory that he shot Miss Sawyer and then dumped her body in a dumpster that was quickly removed. But there was a lack of physical evidence here.
Based on what Quilles has said, Detective Abbott follows up on the dumpster.
Detective Abbott learns on December 20th, 2018, All American Garbage picks up the container. It went to Otis Road landfill. So Detective Abbott then makes contact with the Otis Road landfill.
The sheriff's office spent over $1.5 million over 3 weeks to go through and excavate this landfill. It was almost 80 feet deep. The tons and tons of trash that was moved, even by their own account, was monumental in nature. And they found nothing over a 3-week period of time. They couldn't find anything that directly tied Quilles to Miss Sawyer's disappearance. They found some articles of clothing that they thought were Miss Sawyer's, but the sizes were a little different. It was some Victoria's Secret clothing, and it could have been her clothing, especially as she was carrying a baby. But it's not 100% clear to law enforcement that they've got the goods.
With no physical evidence, questions whether the evidence investigators do have is enough to indict Jonathan Quilles in the murder of his niece and her unborn child.
And thinking about, well, what kind of charges are we going to do? Well, ultimately, it was decided that we were going to do first-degree murder. And the reasons why we were going to do those particular charges, and also in the state of Florida, we can do that for an unborn child. So we knew there was going to be 2 counts for that.
On July 18, 2019, about 6 months after Ayanna Sawyer disappears, investigators send Jonathan Quilles' case to a grand jury.
We met with the grand jury today on your case as well as several others, and you are being indicted on first-degree murder. The third count is going to be sexual battery. Okay? We need to advise you of that. All right. We would like to talk to you if you're willing to speak to us.
I have an attorney that's representing me. She doesn't want me to talk to.
Okay.
After the grand jury indictment, Jonathan Quilles' case doesn't go to trial for another 4 years.
Once they heard everything, that puzzle was built, that picture was painted, that they would know beyond every reasonable doubt that the defendant, Jonathan Quilles, killed his family member because he could not let the world know that he fathered an underage juvenile child.
The defense responds, telling the jury, not so fast.
They have to prove that Mr. Quilles is the one who committed this crime. There will be no direct evidence to say that he did. You will not hear it.
Investigating and looking through the evidence that the state had gathered, the glaring issue again and again was the lack of physical evidence that they had.
There will be no DNA to say he's the father. They will not be able to prove that Jonathan Quilles is in fact the father of the unborn child. They don't have a body. Therefore, we believe they cannot meet their burden of premeditated murder. The biggest challenge for prosecutors is that we're living in a time when people expect to see DNA, direct evidence via video, and if you don't have a body, you don't have a murder weapon, and your case is already circumstantial, it's tough to convince juries that you should send this person to jail for life or even a death penalty.
The state of Florida is banking on a strong slate of witnesses, along with reported admissions of guilt made by Jonathan Quilles himself to his brother and jailhouse informants. Naomi Oakley, Ayana's aunt and Jonathan Quilles' now ex-wife, at whose home Ayana spent so much time, testifies. She says she was initially defensive, but when her sister showed her Snapchats between the two, she changed her tune.
What, if anything, did you do there after?
I told him at that time that he needed to stop speaking with my nieces and he needs to give my family space. I said that it looks really bad and he needs to distance himself.
Did you learn thereafter whether or not you stopped speaking?
I learned after that he did in fact continue speaking with them.
So what are we looking at State 64?
These are the messages from Snapchat.
Snapchats from Quilles in the months leading up to Ayana's disappearance were sometimes sexually explicit and even seemingly threatening.
9/4/2018, 9/27. I'm very aggravated right now. I'm going to hit you later. 9/7/2018, 12/21. Yeah, so I need you to be like 100% with me at all times. I'm just so in love with you. I'll kill you and cry.
Quilles' brother Joseph also gives emotional testimony about his conversations with Jonathan, as evidenced by their phone records. They talked 4 times between December 18th and 20th, 2018, the time period of Ayana's disappearance. Joseph could tell his brother wasn't acting like himself.
His demeanor was a little off. It was kind of like he was nervous or a little panicky about something.
Have you heard your brother sound panicky to you on previous occasions?
No, he was more concerned about what he's going to do with the young lady in question. That she might be pregnant, and what is he going to do? He doesn't want to ruin his family, mess up what he has already going on.
In their last conversation, Jonathan Quilles seemingly finally came clean about what exactly he did on December 19th, 2018. He picked up Ayana from school, telling her they would run away and be together.
Yeah, I was sitting in a vehicle, waiting. He tried to strangle her. It didn't work out. He couldn't stomach it. And so then he later went and shot her in the chest. And then he proceeded to discard the body, transporting it into a dumpster, and destroying the vehicle.
Mr. Quilles, were you surprised by what he told you?
Absolutely.
On December 20th, Joseph wrote his brother a heartfelt text, which the prosecutor reads in court.
I can't talk to you right now. I have to stay firm on my decision. What you told me isn't some joke or something you like about. So yes, I told the police because they needed to know. I'm sorry I had to do the right thing for that girl and her family, not the right thing for you and your selfishness. I hate to lose you, but I'd rather that the girl's family have some peace. If you're innocent, you don't need to worry. They won't find her body. But if you're not, they're going to find her. And in that case, I already lost my brother.
The jury had seen and heard enough. They were ready to deliver their verdict.
The jury found that the videos of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment. Verdict count 2. The jury found that the videos of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment. Verdict count 3. The jury found that the videos of engaging in an act that constitutes sexual battery.
After almost 5 years of living and breathing IS's case, getting to know IS, seeing IS's picture every day in my office, the best words ever were heard. Guilty.
Jonathan Quilles was sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences without the
As he
possibility
should
of
be.
parole. but Ayanna Sawyer's body has heartbreakingly never been found. Up next is a tragic story of a 7-year-old girl. I want you to meet Harmony Montgomery, a sweet, blonde-haired, blue-eyed 7-year-old who loved Minnie Mouse. Back in 2021, she was reported missing by her mother, Crystal. But the strangest thing about the report was that she actually hadn't been seen in over 2 years.
Manchester police received a report
What?
that
How?
Montgomery has not been seen since October 2019, when she was last seen in a residence in Manchester at that time. The circumstances surrounding this prolonged absence are very concerning. Manchester police became aware of this week, and I know people are going to say, well, here it is 2021, what's 2022, what's happened in the last 2 years? Fair question. That's why I'm here tonight. Because we don't have many answers.
December 31st, 2021, Manchester police announced the mysterious disappearance of 7-year-old Harmony Montgomery, who was reported missing by her birth mother, 31-year-old Crystal Sorey, about a month earlier.
Harmony is 7 years old, weighs approximately 50 pounds, with blonde hair and blue eyes. I'm imploring, I'll go as far as I'm begging the community. I don't care if you saw this young girl a year ago and you think it's irrelevant.
Harmony's mother, Crystal, you can only imagine what had been going through her mind. When we think about investigations, working on a timeline, if the last time she is seen was back in 2019, what has happened all these months afterwards? Where did she
Yeah,
go?
that's weird.
To understand how we got here, we need to know a little bit more about the sordid history of Harmony's family.
By all accounts, Harmony was one of the sweetest girls that you could have met. Harmony loved Minnie Mouse. She was a bright girl, a vibrant girl. She was born in June of 2014 to Adam Montgomery and Crystal Sorey, but they separated not too long after her birth.
Both these individuals have got histories of drug abuse within roughly a year, 2 years of Harmony being born. Her dad, Adam, was actually in prison. So Crystal has custody, but because of problems with drug abuse, social services saw fit to take Harmony out of Crystal's household and place her into the foster care system. Adam gets out of prison and he floats around a bit.
Eventually, Adam made the decision that he wanted custody of Harmony back, so he went through the process and obtained that custody.
Crystal wound up in a drug rehab center trying to get her life back on track. While she was there was sporadic contact with Harmony. The last contact was Easter of 2019, where she was allowed to have a video visit with Harmony. Adam was married to Kayla Montgomery. The problem with Kayla, though, is that Kayla, just like Crystal, just like Adam Montgomery, had a problem with drug dependency.
Adam started to cut off contact with Crystal. He would block Crystal on social media, block her phone number. There were times when she actually came up to Manchester because she was living in Massachusetts to look for Harmony.
However, Crystal says she searched for months and was unable to find 31-year-old Adam Montgomery or her daughter. As detectives work to locate Adam to talk to him about Harmony's disappearance, they first speak with his then wife, 31-year-old Kayla Montgomery.
Police said, hey, we need to talk to Adam. Do you know where we can find him? And that sort of started the chain of dominoes.
At this point, time is of the essence, but given Adam's track record, he's proving tough to find.
During this time frame, COVID's going on, a lot of shutdowns are happening, people aren't seeing family much. The biggest factor is the dad being so much of a transient. He's going to be hard to track down.
Yet just hours after speaking with Kayla, police stumble upon Adam and his new girlfriend in Manchester.
You have to pull the sleeve, give me contact right now.
Show me your hands. Keep your hands where I can see them. Step on out. What's your name, my man? Adam. Law enforcement discovers Adam in kind of like a park area, sleeping in his car. You have anything on you? No. Alright, come right over here. What's wrong? You just get that out, make sure you don't have any weapons. First and foremost, what they realize is Adam's there, his new girlfriend's there, there's other kids are there, but guess who's not there? Harmony. People are concerned. I'm not talking to the police about nothing. Not under arrest. Right now you're being detained, yes. Not under arrest, but you're being detained. Any particular reason you don't want to talk to them? What's that? Should I call it?
The most interesting part of this is Adam's reaction to their questions. It's not like, oh my God, I've been looking for it too. Can you please help me find it? His reaction is, am I under arrest?
You have custody of her, right? Great. So what would you be doing wrong if you have custody of her and she's in a safe place? You know what I mean?
Police have to consider. Maybe the child just sort of wandered off. Maybe the child was kidnapped by a stranger. Maybe Harmony had gone to live with another family. And these were all avenues that police had to look at, all through this lens of 2 years in the past.
So I just need to know that she's okay. If she's okay, I can say, hey, DCYF, she's fine. I have nothing else to say. Can you assure me that your daughter's okay? Yeah. Do you know
Why are you being evasive? You was way too evasive, man.
The police are having a very difficult time kind of penetrating the shell that Adam Montgomery has around him. And he has it around him from long years of experience with interacting with the police.
You've been on the block. You're not in. I'm under arrest. I'm under arrest. I told you you're under arrest. All right, so I want you to go out of the building. I need to know that you saw your daughter alive recently. Recently? Why not? You're her dad. You want her kid, right? Yeah. So why not? I've been around here. I've been in Maine.
Adam's overall response is, what am I supposed to do? There's no
It's like you just don't give a damn.
I can't give you anything else. I think the sticking point for these officers was, Adam, why aren't you upset?
You see why we're concerned. No, okay, I get that, but I have nothing to say. So, like, either you guys are gonna arrest me or not.
It's like you just don't. This dude don't give a shit. He don't.
Okay, I have nothing. Like, you're telling me she's okay, but I want to see. He's fumbling around a decent amount, but he basically says,
Dude, you need to realize them cops ain't leaving.
Defensive tactics come up. She's supposed to be Crystal. I need some ideas of what the hell Crystal is doing. I'm telling you that you did. You're telling me she's fine, right? Yeah. Okay. You know that she's not dead. I got nothing else to say, man. I'm under arrest. Dude, how many times do you ask?
Them cops ain't leaving, man.
I did talk to her. Don't talk to her again.
You need to realize them cops ain't leaving.
She's okay, and she's with her mom. But Crystal was the one that's kind of set the wheels in motion here.
During the course of the investigation, an uncle comes into the picture who actually says that Adam had a history of abuse. Adam's uncle Kevin tells them about Adam having struck Harmony in the face earlier in 2019, months before she disappeared. That was the moment that he became the primary suspect in whatever did happen to her.
So now the police are on high alert because we have a child who's missing. There's a report that the father put his hands on that child. It becomes a red flag situation that's extremely important for the officers to get to the bottom of. This alleged assault gives investigators another chance to question this father about his daughter.
Been a lot of worried people and scared people right now in the community. I don't want you to be painted as a monster. Well, that's what you guys are already doing. You understand what the charge is, not right? Second degree assault, right? Yeah. Okay. There's also an endangering the welfare charge. Okay. And interference with custody.
Adam Montgomery is arrested, but it's not for Harmony's disappearance. Out in New Hampshire, authorities are investigating the disappearance of 7-year-old Harmony Montgomery. They arrest her father, Adam Montgomery, but it's not exactly for what you might think.
The 7 years slow charge, what is this referring to?
Your daughter had some injuries that you know about when you lived on George.
What are you referring to?
Well, you were there, I wasn't, right?
What are you referring to?
Marks that were left on her by you.
Absolutely not.
Much like the initial interaction in the park, Adam's demeanor is pretty blasé throughout. The time he gets fired up the most is when police are basically telling him that he did something bad to his daughter, talking about the assault.
What you just said to me, you asked me to get out on.
Okay, but so explain to me how I got a line.
I have nothing to explain.
Okay, but wouldn't you rather explain it so we can make sense of it than just other people's side of the story?
They're not there necessarily to explore the circumstances around that assault. What they are hoping for is that he's going to make some kind of spontaneous admission about his involvement in the disappearance of Harmony.
The more Adam says, the more his story seems to fall apart.
The thing about police and investigators in particular, when you blow them off and you do not give them direct information, that makes any investigator worth their salt. It makes them want to dig deeper and harder, because what's at stake here is the life of a child.
Can you make me a promise? Like, man, can you tell me she's alive?
You're gonna play that same word games that you played with me the other day.
It's all word games.
I got that.
That's what you do, man. It's one else. This isn't gonna go anywhere, and this isn't gonna stop. So either get on the bus now or get run over.
I got nothing else to say. I want to load.
So at this point, the police knew that they were on the right track.
Adam Montgomery is charged with second-degree assault for allegedly hitting Harmony years prior, and his wife Kayla Montgomery is facing charges of her own in relation to this young girl.
Police had identified roughly when Harmony had disappeared, and specifically when she was no longer living with Adam and Kayla. Kayla was continuing to represent to the state offices that they did have Harmony with them, and she was charged with various offenses relating to theft of benefits. Kayla was receiving food stamps and other benefits from the state.
But there's still not a clear picture of where Harmony Montgomery could be.
Where is this child?
So they spend the next couple of months looking for information. You see the reward in this case skyrocket. Now imagine everybody that's going to try and come out of the woodworks and do anything they know for $150,000. That's the hope.
However, months later, in August 2022, officials announce a monumental update in the investigation.
I'm beyond sad that we stand here today to announce the disappearance of Harmony Montgomery as now officially homicide investigation.
Members of the Manchester Police Department, the U.S. Marshal Service, the FBI, have devoted thousands of hours gathering evidence and pursuing numerous leads. All of these efforts have led us to conclude that Harmony Montgomery was murdered.
Adam Montgomery, Harmony's own father, faces a possible life sentence when he's officially charged with second-degree murder. And it's what happens after he's charged that unfortunately confirms investigators' suspicions.
That jail phone call almost brings the whole investigation full circle. You have Adam on the phone telling the person he's speaking to that it's a waste of time for police to be looking for her. You know, that says two things. It says that whatever he did to her, wherever he put her, he's confident that it's somewhere really good that the police aren't going to be able to find her without his help. But it also just goes to not caring.
More than 4 years after Harmony Montgomery's death, and even still without a body of remains, Adam Montgomery is set to
stand trial for murder. But just before proceedings begin in February 2024, Adam Montgomery makes a shocking move.
At the start of his trial, Adam was present for jury selection, but then when it came time for trial to actually start, Adam refused to appear. Another thing Adam did at the beginning of the trial, he admitted to the abuse of a corpse and falsifying physical evidence charge. He didn't plead guilty to it, which is what a lot of people think, but he basically just conceded. He said, yeah, the state has enough evidence. It was probably the best strategic move he could have made in the face of a very strong case.
The prosecution said that's not enough. We still believe that you were responsible for his death.
It's then that the gruesome details of what allegedly happened to young Harmony Montgomery are revealed, and prosecutors paint a chilling picture of unimaginable cruelty.
Where is Harmony Montgomery? Where is Harmony? When people across this nation, when looking for Harmony, there's one person who is not. Her biological father. He was the only person in this world who knows where Harmony is, who butchered her body, and who disposed of her like yesterday's trash.
Kayla was there, she was a witness, and she essentially told police, I saw Adam murder Harmony. The information that Kayla gave was essentially that Harmony had been having bathroom accidents in the car, and Adam snapped.
For 2 years, that man got away with murder, until he went to great lengths to cover up his crime. He carried her body with him for months, and he discarded her with zero appreciation for the life that he'd taken. And in the months that followed, he beat, he injured, he terrorized the only witness to his crime. She was his loose end, Kayla Montgomery's wife.
She wouldn't let us know when she had to use the bathroom, and so she was peeing in the car.
How was the defendant responding when she had these accidents?
Getting angry.
December 7th of 2019.
Yeah.
Does that day stand out to you?
Yes.
Why?
This is the date that Harmony passed away.
How many times did you hit her?
I can't count, I don't know.
Did the defendant say anything to Harmony?
I told her to shut the up. Stop crying.
All it takes is one final furious blow to her head, and suddenly you've got a bleed that occurs within the brain.
Did you try to help Harmony while he was striking her?
Yes. But he gave me this look that was like evil. I don't, his crazy eyes. Like he was gonna hit me.
When it came to hiding Harmony's body, Kayla says Adam went to extreme lengths to cover up what happened.
We took a duffel bag that was in the trunk and put her in the duffel bag.
You don't get no sympathy from me.
No.
Why not?
They had the 2 other kids and I'm scared.
Why scared?
Even if he was hitting you, you still, if you were a half this person, you still could have protected that child. I have no sympathy for you.
Someone.
Yes, I was scared. And I still cared about him.
In the end, the jury convicted Adam Montgomery of second-degree murder, as well as second-degree assault, witness tampering, falsifying physical evidence, and use of a corpse.
December 7th will forever be the darkest day of my life. Did she cry for me? Did she scream? Did she beg you to stop? I'll never know. You're too much of a coward to tell the truth and do one good thing for Harmony. You may have taken her physically from me, but she is always, always with me.
You robbed a 5-year-old girl, your own daughter, of the the life that she was to lead. You stole from your sons a sister. You took a daughter from her mother.
And look at him, he
In charge
don't
of
give a
second-degree
damn.
murder. You were
Bastard.
sentenced to the New Hampshire State Prison for not more than life, nor less than 45 years.
Good. Glad he got life.
Martin's remains have not been found. Over
Bastard.
in our next case, meet 13-year-old Alec, 11-year-old Tyler, and 4-year-old Zoe. Just happy kids living in Celebration, Florida with their mom Megan and their dad Anthony. They have been missing for weeks, and Anthony's sister contacts local law authorities to conduct a welfare check on the family.
My sister-in-law was making a comment about, we just kind of put it all together, about, basically the world ending on the 28th, and nobody had talked to them.
He's in control in his life. He's in control financially.
We're back now with Anthony Toad, the patriarch of a family who seemed to disconnected from the world. But something to know about Toad. The physical therapist was actually under surveillance by federal authorities.
What is he wanted for?
Healthcare fraud. Healthcare fraud could be overbilling or billing for services not rendered, basically fraud against Medicare or Medicaid.
It seemed pretty clear that he was in a very bad financial situation. He was trying to arrange it so his children and wife would have a lot of enjoyment. They moved 15 minutes away from the Disney World. He spent a lot of money on a condominium. When that started to unravel, he knew that he would be viewed as a failure.
So the plan was we were going to do some surveillance, get some info, take our photos, see if we could find any information about where this family lived.
In January 2020, armed with an arrest warrant, deputies moved in on Toad.
Tony, talk. Please. Tony, come to the door.
We knocked, no one came to the door. The door was unlocked, so we popped it open. We slowly made our way in. He was at the top of the stairs.
Tony, you going downstairs? Tony, you upstairs? Hey, come upstairs, bro. Everything's all right. Stay calm. You sure?
We asked him where Megan and the children were. He said Megan was upstairs sleeping, and he also called for her. We were getting no answer.
What's your wife's name? Megan. Megan? Megan. All right, come on, Devin.
We made our way upstairs to check on the children, check on Megan. The master bedroom door was open.
And walk over.
Megan?
What investigators find next is unimaginable.
I didn't see Megan because she was, the way her blanket was,
There's some of the children. They're all pretty much black.
the two boys, I just saw Zoe's hair.
Okay.
But yes, the two boys are as black as this leather. There's also a dog, so just there may be another deceased.
Megan, Alec, Tyler, Zoe, and the family dog Breezy are all found dead, decomposing in an upstairs bedroom.
It was especially bloody. You had people were drugged, the children were drugged with Benadryl, and then you had some brutal stabbing.
What begins as a fraud case suddenly turns into a horrifying homicide investigation.
He lived with the bodies in the condominium for about 3 weeks. During that time, according to the police, the smell of decomposition was extremely pronounced.
Toad is taken to the hospital. He appears disoriented and unstable. In fact, he says he swallowed a large amount of Benadryl. It's at the hospital when he has his first interview with police.
Tell me what happened.
My wife is, I went to crime, they were very Jews and all that kind of stuff. And it was told to me is that when people die, they go to different aspects. And sometimes they're going to be up in the way of the aspect.
He talked about how she started to adopt Eastern religions. She started getting involved in other, almost like fantastical beliefs, like medical mediums and stuff.
Friday, it's supposed to be a reset plan. So we all stay together and go up. One person separated from the other.
The confession, well, it was a confession. There was a tremendous level of explanation going on.
We sit there and we suffocated and agitated and trying to get the air out. And we wanted to both
go very, everybody go very peacefully. We wanted everybody together. Okay. And that was my wife's wish, everybody together. He would say that was essentially all a dream. He didn't remember anything. He was in some kind of zombie state. He was looking to blame the drugs for his confession.
You murdered your 3 children.
I know.
You take full responsibility for that?
I would think
Megan was involved, I don't think, for it. Well, Megan did.
When Toad is brought in for questioning a few days later, he shares more horrifying specifics about the killings. Just a warning, what you're about to hear is extremely graphic.
Well, I decided, so we had been watching these videos, talking about the afterlife. We started researching, and we started finding more about the world just coming to the end, the apocalyptic end, so that what it is, to all go together. Die together, that's correct. Because my wife's been chronically ill for a while, it's really appealed to her, and that's salvation for the rest of life.
This is a guy who had perhaps some delusions, but not enough to make him not understand the difference between right and wrong.
We had sat down and talked to the boys, and so it's just like, what would happen if mommy died? How would you feel? What happens if daddy died? What would you feel? And we're just as responsible, so we don't want you to die, we want to die with you.
According to the police, Anthony used a variety of methods, the Benadryl.
Something came on TV about cough medicine. Okay, so could they have some cough medicine to go to sleep? They go, there's cough medicine. So it didn't work. It was like, we're just going to have to do some sort of basic explanation. Okay, he did that.
Toad goes into detail about killing 4-year-old Zoe.
She rolled and started squiggling, and I put my hand over her mouth and I put a pillow on top of it. She started to fade away. And I just held that until the emotion left.
It's one thing to kind of mumble an answer, like, oh, I killed somebody. It's something else to give a very detailed explanation of every single homicide that occurred.
So Zoe's gone. And then what happens? We looked at Alex. We're just in there, just eyeing each other, just gaining the confidence to stab him. And he started kicking. Was trying to get up. And I reached around with my hand and held his nose in his mouth.
Toad claims that he and Megan were worried that their 11-year-old son Tyler would run away.
They had to get in and get the knife right in there. I got it, certainly quite a bit, but he went really, really, really quick.
This was especially horrific, and I've seen a lot of bad stuff with state attorney. But this one, you destroyed an entire family.
We decided that just the dog, why we would the dog with us, and I was able to hold the pushed out and her nose closed, and she went peacefully.
Toad claims that Megan wanted to die next.
Megan wanted to gave her the knife, and I next to her, and she put the knife into her stomach. We were there for about 45 minutes. After she stabbed herself, she says, after nothing happened, so she decided to go through her liver.
He was stabbed with deep knife wounds multiple times.
With 2 hands pushed it.
This here ain't making no sense.
And just sleep with her. It seemed like hours went by, nothing was happening. She goes, I want this ended now. She was like, I want you to take the pillowcase, put a pillow, put it over my head. She goes, if you love me, you can do this. I want to be with my babies. So I said, why don't you take some more Benadryl? So you're not going to fight me. And I'll do it. So then it came to me.
It was pretty efficient.
So he trying to claim that the wife wanted to take out her children. Again, this here makes no sense.
That's what he wanted to achieve, and he did it in a pretty straightforward fashion. But when he talked about ending his own life, he couldn't figure out how to do it.
We didn't get there till Monday. What were you doing during this time frame? We're talking over 2 weeks. Tried to kill myself. I tried to basically zip tie around the neck. Was trying to figure out how to go through and fall in the right direction. But on the last day, I checked it out and covered it out with a knife.
So you kind of a disconnect there between the methods that he used that were successful and then these
great
methods that
disconnect
he used that were not successful.
You upset a lot of
You guys seem very planned. This is very methodical. Other than the fact about you taking your own life, which I have still had questioning. You take full responsibility once it's done.
Now, Anthony Toad has admitted to killing his entire family, including the family dog. But he tells his sister a completely different story.
I want you to know a couple things. And I absolutely went 100 big thing through everything. First of all, it's still come out. She's not clear right now. Realize that, okay? I don't remember anything pretty much over Christmas and the first week I got here. I don't remember coming here. I don't remember anything after that. That's what happened. I have no idea where I was, where I am. The only thing I remember is being at the hospital.
His claim was that he was kind of out of it, he had hit his head, he didn't know what he was doing, he didn't remember the confession. Toad tells his sister he wasn't home when his family was killed, that he was actually at their nearby condo.
I knew it happened. Okay, as I say this, I went over because Zoe wanted her Mickey silver necklace for a piece of jewels like that later. I ended up falling asleep. Let's just leave it at that. Okay? I fell asleep. I was supposed to wake up at 11:30. Didn't wake up till the next morning. I have no idea. But I told the investigators because I was completely stoked. I was asleep. And I missed you guys tremendously. And I was thinking, I can't believe she did this. Love is blind sometimes. And when things happen, they unexpected.
These aren't things that we should talk about now.
I had nothing behind them. Just know. I don't make it think it's there yet.
Those that know you just won't understand.
You know, I mean, yes, the horrors. I really do. That's why I need to hear this.
Do what?
I need to hear this. I haven't been to mine them yet.
In April of 2022, it will be up to a jury to sort out the truth as Anthony Toad's criminal trial began.
You're going to be informed by the defendant in his interview that he is the one that took the lives of Megan Toad, Alexander Toad, Tyler Toad, and Zoe Toad.
Toad's defense calls only one witness, Anthony Toad himself.
I came home and my kids were dead. It was the most horrible day of my life. And what I mean, more horrible was my wife. Died in February. Did you do this? No.
If you put it all on the wife's not there to rebut it, and that can work sometimes. You can portray the victim in a negative light.
I didn't even see this coming. They say, blindsided. This is a blindside by a Mack truck filled with dynamite.
Toad then faced cross-examination by the prosecution.
You told detectives that you went into Zoe's room, gathered the courage, and you rolled over on top of your daughter. Isn't that what you told law enforcement?
Is this a yes or no question? Did you want the
Yes or no question?
That is what the video, yes, showed me.
And your testimony here today is that Megan did it.
Megan killed Zoe.
That phrase, that's what the video says, that's what the video shows, as if it was some type of alternate universe.
You told law enforcement multiple times that Tyler was fast.
You saw the video, and you saw the video also of saying...
His demeanor and standard's not helping.
That's not responsive to my question.
That sure is.
Yes?
I don't remember anything after I left the house until I got to jail.
Well, that is your video, right?
It's a sickly version of me, yes. And God will tell you I assassinated
Your
you.
question.
When the Benadryl comes in and his mental health issues, it could try to convince the jury that he did not know what he was saying when he was confessing.
You told law enforcement on multiple occasions that you went into Alec's room and you stabbed Alec and you stuck a figure out. Isn't that correct?
That's partially correct.
And your testimony today is that that is not true.
My testimony today is the fact that Megan killed her kids and killed herself.
But is the jury convinced? After deliberating for just over 6 hours,
This dude's full of crap.
with their verdict.
State of Florida versus Anthony John Took. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of cruelty to animals.
Anthony Toth is convicted on all charges.
I think they could have made an okay argument that it was possible that Megan was the killer, but there was no way to get around that confession. No matter what they said, when that confession came in, that was the end of it.
His whole defense was undermined by the fact that he stayed with the dead body. This guy had the means, motive, and opportunity. He was desperate financially, he was acting irrationally, and he committed this horrific crime and then tried to cover it up.
But just before Toad is sentenced, he addresses the court one last time.
This was a personal catastrophe in everybody's life in my family, including myself. I maintain my innocence. I love my wife. I love my children. I was not there the night my children died.
I think this speaks to that whole kind of pressured speech vibe that Anthony gives off. He demands that people listen to him. He can't comprehend, but they wouldn't believe his lies. Maybe it's just his last chance at getting attention.
So he's not helping you in this progress, well, so I encourage you to.
I'm sorry. I did not do this.
Confess his innocence till the end, just adds insult to injury. You're the guy who perhaps believes his own lies, or is just such a megalomaniac who thinks he could talk his way out of it.
A jury has unanimously determined, after listening to the evidence presented, that you, Anthony John Toth, are a destroyer of worlds. You are sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
This was way exerting what little control that he had left in the world. And that's why the judge said, you're a destroyer of worlds. That was the only power he had left, to destroy other worlds. And he did. And now he's got to
A heartbreaking end to an even more heartbreaking case. I hope that this episode serves as a tribute to the memories of all those that we have lost. We never know where or when devastation may strike. But one thing is for sure, we must remain vigilant in the protection and safety of all children. That is all we have for you here on Prime Crime. Everybody, thank you so much.
And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Please like, please share, please subscribe. See y'all later. Peace.